Welcome back. Today we're going to be looking at some special words in Python. So you'll notice that these words, when you type them in, come up purple. And the reason is that they kind of work on their own and do something special. So you couldn't name a variable after any of these words. So the three words we're going to look at are pass, break, and continue. And so I prepared a Python notebook which we'll have a look through and see what each one does. So the first one is pass. So if we look here and we run this, where we've defined a function that doesn't do anything, and we've got an if or an else statement and we run it, you can see it says here we've got an indentation error where it expected an indented block. So what it's looking for is for this if true to be part of the function, so it should be here, but it's not, so we've got an indentation error. You can also get a syntax error if, for example, it was just def function and then nothing else. So instead, to fix that, we'll just put the word pass in, and this is generally used when you're kind of writing some code that doesn't do anything yet, and you want to put it in, but you don't want your program to crash. So we can run that and nothing happens. The next word is break. So break allows you to exit a loop. So if we take this example where we've got some kind of flag, and we're just looping through I, and we're saying, when we get to 7, set the flag to false, so we break the loop. And so it gets to 7, and we can see when it's 7 it prints I, it says I is equal to 7, flag's false, increments I, goes back here, and it says oh no, now flag is no longer true, and it breaks. So instead, what we can do is we can get rid of the flag and just say if I happens to be equal to 7, then break. And this does exactly the same thing, but with less code and is more efficient. And it's also the way you'd be expected to write it, because it hits programming standards. We can also do this in a for loop. So here, this is even more condensed, where we've got a for loop printing the numbers up to 9, because obviously it's 10 minus 1. But when I is equal to 7, we put the break in, and so it prints the numbers up to 7. Another thing that you could do is you could have some kind of flag, and then if the flag was high, so you didn't break the loop, then it would say that it ran the whole loop. But if it doesn't, then it's just going to continue on and ignore this. And we can see this prints the numbers 0 to 7, but it doesn't print that it ran the whole loop, because it doesn't. However, we can just replace this with the word else instead. And here we'll see that when we run it, it won't have run the whole loop, because I at some point was equal to 7. And we can do the same with a for loop, where we put the else after the for loop, and if there was no break, then it will say it ran the whole loop. And we can see that it's gone 0 to 7. And to demonstrate that if it does run the whole loop, then it will print that, I'll just change this from 7 to 11 and run it, and you see we get 0 to 9, and then it prints it ran the whole loop. And the same here, we can see it ran the whole loop, because it did. So you can use for and else, or while and else, as an alternative to using flags. And then finally, we've got continue. And the thing that continue does is it just goes back to the start of the loop. So in this loop, we'd expect it to print all the numbers 0 to 9, because that's what this bit does. But if I is equal to 7, it sees this word continue. So instead of continuing on, it goes back to the start. And so we can expect all the numbers except 7 where it's continued. And likewise, we can use continue in a while loop and do the same thing. And again, no 7. So they're the basics of pass, break, and continue. You can't name variables after these words because they are reserved words or keywords. Hopefully you've enjoyed this video. You've learnt a few keywords in Python, and I'll see you again same time next week. Till then.